We're fine. We're going to get through this from dark to light. And there's some amazing things happening all over the world. And with that, I'd like to introduce Lior Sher. Lior Sher is a serial and diverse entrepreneur in healthcare, biomedical, and software technologies. She's the founder and CEO of Polls Unfiltered. We've talked about Polls, that's Polls, as you see there, pollsunfiltered.com. She's the founder and CEO of Polls Unfiltered, a free social media polling app. She's also the founder of Vitamin C International Consortium Institute, a premier research and training institute for integrative medicine physicians. This is an extremely important and most valuable consortium, and we're going to be talking about that today. So I'm just going to bring Lior Sher on. We've got the balance of the show. Welcome back, Lior.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Kelly. And once again, it's such a pleasure being part of your show. In the last several weeks, in the last weeks, we have been discussing the chaos and the conundrum and the confusion, and which is ongoing regarding and surrounding COVID-19, and specifically the, so to speak, solutions that are being proposed by the various authorities. This week alone, the confusion has been continuing to grow, and there have been many talks of ever-changing testing protocols. And it's very interesting because as we continue to learn about this very mysterious and unknown beast that is uprooted our lifestyle as we know it, the facts are continuing to change. How do we test something that we don't actually know it is? So the tests that were being discussed this week were the telemed tests, where it's do it at home test with a virtual oversight by a nurse, and then you potentially spit into a tube, send it off, and hopefully have the correct answers. There's also been fake reports, not only with regard to the test's results, but also the fake causalities of death that are being reported in various states. And at this point, I hate to say it, but I think anyone with a seasonal allergy, or potentially women with hot flashes, are going to be categorized as COVID-19 patients. And if there is a causality or unfortunate death, it's going to be attributed to that. So what I'm getting to, what part of the news is actually real, unfiltered, and not fake? That is my main concern. And with regard to the true facts, because let's just focus on what is fundamental right now. We don't know how to treat this monster. We need to protect ourselves. And what are the tools that are currently available to do so? Can we risk that with unapproved drugs that have potential safety ramifications? And yet there are tools that are available to us to optimize our immune system that has to do with well-established, safe, natural protocols such as vitamin A and vitamin D and vitamin C. And unfortunately, as if you bring the slide number 1, which I call it the conspiracy with a C at the end without the Y. Nancy Pelosi just got on the show recently and stated that the best way to treat COVID-19 is self-isolation and abundance of chocolate. Well, as long as it is dark and organic and in relatively controlled doses, I would say go for it, and we all need a little bit of sweetness. But at the same time, if I want to optimize my immune system, I certainly want to look at the high doses vitamin C. And at this particular time, when the essence of our freedom is being attacked, and when I talk about freedom, I talk about my body, which I review as a temple. I have the right, I should have the right to determine how I want to treat my body when it comes to medical decisions. So having said that, we have the privilege today to host Dr. Richard Z. Cheng, who is a U.S.-based physician out of Columbus, South Carolina, and is currently positioned in Shanghai, and has been tirelessly working with the authorities in China to implement 3 clinical trials that treating COVID-19 patients with high-dose vitamin C protocol. Dr. Cheng is a fellow and a board-certified anti-aging physician, as well as board-certified in integrative cancer therapy. So much ado about, we don't want to waste any more time here. It's precious. I have so many questions for Dr. Cheng today. Welcome to our show, and we're very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, Dr. Cheng, high-dose vitamin C has been implemented and established since the beginning of 1940s with the works of Dr. Klenner and Dr. Cathcart, who have utilized as much as 300 grams in 24 hours to treat various viral and bacterial diseases, among them Epstein-Barr, pneumonia, flu, and even polio, as well as sepsis. How did you
Correct.
get involved in the current studies in China?
Very good question. Well, this time, for the past couple of years, I've been coming back to visit China, particularly at New Year time, and primarily spend New Year with my parents who are in the 80s. I promised to myself I like to spend Chinese New Year every year. Also to a few things. And in the past, I've about vitamin C for many. In the last couple of years, I become more involved with vitamin C because of my in-depth studying in anti-aging. Because I'm getting older, and life is good. I like to live long, healthy. Prevention is more important than treatment. So I know about vitamin C. I know vitamin C a lot, actually. I've translated 2 books related to vitamin C, as you know, Dr. Thomas Levy, Primal Panacea and Death by Calcium. So those are very great books, and these are like a review books with lots of references, scientific evidence, But anyway, so primarily I've been interested in the chronic disease management, in osteoporosis, in atherosclerosis, diabetes, cancer, these chronic diseases. And but this time when this COVID-19 broke out, and because I know of vitamin C, and over the past couple of years, because of my invited lectures here in China, I made quite a few friends in academia, in public hospitals, and other sources. And I graduated from Shanghai Medical University, and my classmates at that time school all in various leader positions. So I know about vitamin C's antiviral, antimicrobial capacity effects, and also I'm familiar with vitamin C's effects in sepsis treatment in particular over the last couple of years. So I teamed up with a few of these authorities in China and started calling for high-dose vitamin C use. Basically, if we summarize vitamin C, first of all, it's very safe. Like you already mentioned, there's an official public document from NIH, the United States Authority on Medicine. We all know. In that public document, it shows that vitamin C dosage up to 1.5 gram per kilogram body weight, or roughly for somebody of 150 pounds. That's light, right? 150 pounds. He or she can tolerate 100 grams. That's 100,000 milligram vitamin C safely every day. This is official. It's not from me. Of course, it's based on literature data, okay? So first of all, high-dose vitamin C is very safe if you use it carefully, and in the vast majority of people, you will do just fine, no problem. So we're not going to hurt anybody if we do that. Now, secondly, it's very inexpensive. And we also know vitamin C has direct virucidal effects, basically can directly kill virus. And more importantly, one of the key features that I think is very important is that why is COVID-19 so scary? Because a small portion of the COVID-19 patients developing into pneumonia or respiratory distress. We call ARDS, respiratory distress syndrome, basically hard to breathe. You have to put them on an iron lung, external breathing machine. And then some of them may die. And that's why it's so scary. Although I would say, I think as a population overall, we are overreacting. We are probably causing more harm by the fear than the disease per se. But that's a different story. So anyway, vitamin C has a very powerful antioxidant effect. Now that is probably more important than the vitamin C's direct killing virus effect. Why is that? It's because I already mentioned COVID-19 virus will cause ARDS. But if we review, United States, I don't think America was involved 17 years ago with SARS. We remember SARS that again came out of China and spread over to some Southeastern Asian countries. I don't think it went as far as the United States. But SARS is also a coronavirus, and it also involved ARDS. And we know about MERS, 7-8 years ago, mostly in the Middle Eastern area and parts of Europe. MERS is another coronavirus. It also causes ARDS and death. Okay. Now these viruses all affect the pulmonary or the lung system, but there are other viruses that may primarily affect our gut, GI tract, or maybe our kidney problems. But the point I'm making is that many of these, actually I would say all of these pathogens, viral or bacterial, when they are very severe, oftentimes they mostly will cause a condition what we call, you may have heard of the term cytokine storm, or extremely significantly high oxidative. Basically, it's an inflammatory process. So this process actually is very common. It's unique to COVID-19. It's not unique to SARS or MERS. It's a common mechanism. That's a key here. The point here is that if you apply high enough doses of vitamin C, even better, if we are doing it in a combination with other antioxidants, then we should be able to calm this cytokine storm. We can reduce, prevent, or ameliorate the exuberant oxidative stress-induced issues. And that's what we're seeing here. And, I'm not going to give you all the literature. Leo, it's about 10 days ago, I gave us invited webinar at NIH with all the, references over there. So the point I'm making here is that actually, one of the issues, if I may, is that the current medical system treats COVID-19 as an entirely new disease. As a matter of fact, the current medical system is treating every disease as an entirely, totally different disease. That's a mistake. Why is that? It's because when COVID-19 broke out, it's been only short couple of months. Look at the damage, the catastrophe it has caused worldwide. And thinking about the measure. Mostly we're talking about new drugs and the new vaccines. I'm not against any of these things. The problem is we don't have them handy. For a new disease like COVID-19 comes out, and if we want to develop a new drug or new vaccine, it takes time. And we are only 3-4 months into this, and the damage is done. It's very bad.
Dr. Chang, this is John. Thank you for this very valuable information. We're getting a lot of people responding and asking some questions on the chat feed, and I know Lior's got some more questions for you. But I'm going to get one quick question and then turn it over to Lior to ask you some more questions about these subjects. You're presently in China. Are you treating patients with COVID in China? And if so,
yes,
what are the results? What are the results?
Okay. Now, basically, let me just share a little bit. Like I said, when COVID-19 broke out, and I've been calling for these high dose vitamin C usage, and so there have 3 officially registered IVC high dose vitamin C clinical trials, and I've been intimately involved with them. Some of them intimately involved in the design, and there are good news and bad news. The bad news is one of the trial stopped in the middle of it, and the very first trial had to change its structure. Why is that? It's because all of a sudden we don't have new patients anymore. Good news for the world of what we're learning here is China. Actually, the COVID-19 pandemic in China, the World War COVID-19, the China theater is definitely significantly slowing down. Okay, so there are no new patients. Good. And the bad thing for the study is they don't have enough of the patients that they anticipated. But let me give you some preliminary results. Last week we had a international video conference with Dr. Pan, Zhiyong Pan, the principal investigator of the world's first vitamin C clinical trial, and talking with including Dr. Merrick, Paul Merrick, if you know the field, he's well known in the field, and many others from Europe and England on the panel. But anyway, so he told us in that conference that his group recruited a little bit more than 40 patients, and these patients were divided into two groups, and the high dose vitamin C was 24 grams a day, and which is pretty high, not as high as I like, but it's pretty high enough. And the preliminary data shows that there is a significant reduction in the mortality, and also significant reduction in the inflammation, in the inflammatory markers, including like IL-6 type of markers, and also improving and the normal metabolic markers, organ functions. When we're in the hospital, we measure their liver functions, kidney functions, these functions. So we see a better improvement or quicker improvement of these measures. And these patients also stay in the hospital for shorter time, both in ICU. We see a significant reduction in the ICU stay and also hospital stay. Now that's from this, that detailed data, of course, is being piled and analyzed, will be published later, and hopefully soon. Now, before this, that was almost a month ago, and we had a similar conference with one of the experts in Shanghai. At that time, Shanghai had 358 patients altogether confirmed COVID-19. Out of them, 50 received high-dose vitamin C. Now, the dosage here in Shanghai we used were 10 to 20 grams a day. Basically, this is not a controlled trial, it's just a treatment. And for moderate patients, we would give 10 grams, and the severe patients, we would give 20 grams. And out of these 50 patients, again, we saw a impression. Again, this is the first impression right now. Data is being analyzed. Appears to be these patients recover faster, and the hospital stay appears to be shorter, on average about 5 days. Most of all the other patients on average would stay maybe 30 days, because the criteria here is that they have to be negative by the nucleic acid test.
This is great news, Dr. Chang.
Yeah.
Lior, do you have any questions or comments for the doctor?
Yes, we have very little time, and I would like to go over some additional issues. Many of them you already covered, Dr. Chang, so that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I wanted to address the dosages, and from my information, the doses included will range from 6 grams to 24, which is not optimal, but just like yourself, I had the privilege to speaking with Dr. Paul Merrick, who is in charge of the sepsis trials in the United States, and these were the dosages that he implemented in that protocol. If you were to do another study and you had the liberty to do it yourself without any governmental restrictions, would you utilize a higher dosage on a daily basis?
Yes, I would. Basically, I would use anywhere between probably 30 to 60 grams to begin with, and I would base my dosing on patient's response and conditions. Let me just give you a reference point. I oftentimes give vitamin C to my parents for general wellness and collagen buildup, and I use 20 grams. I'm talking about normal healthy person like myself, 20 grams.
We obviously know
may,
that.
yeah, may I
Go
add
ahead.
one thing? And I think that's important. Last week in our conference was Dr. Penn. That's the first time he told me. You saw a truck of 50-ton vitamin C truckling to Wuhan, a news report back in February, right? You know where they went?
Mm-hmm.
Now I know. Dr. Penn told us that the major hospitals in Wuhan, all the healthcare providers were distributed, basically given free vitamin C powder and instructed to take 1 to 2 grams of vitamin C powder daily.
A
And
day.
I'm glad that
And
they're
this
doing
is
that a day.
right, and this is a great point because this awareness also created not just a global chaos, but a global shortage in this vitamin C. And we,
Yeah.
as we know it, manufacture it, so we do need to take it and supplement on a daily basis, which leads me to the next question. Number one, we know that with acute conditions, higher dosage is required. And as you said, with a healthy person, 20 grams, I mean, you cannot overdose on that. And when you have someone who's in critical conditions admitted to ICU, we need much higher dosages. Since people at home cannot obviously take it in a form of intravenous administration, do you recommend that everyone supplements daily with vitamin C orally?
I do, yes. Let me just give you how I take it. I take it between 5 to 10 grams daily.
Excellent. Now,
5,
in the
5 to 10.
IVC clinical trials in China, what type of vitamin C was used? Was it ascorbic acid or sodium ascorbate?
I think most of the IV fluids here are, buffered sodium ascorbate.
Okay. And were there any other adjunct therapies used in that protocol? With
Not for the IVC trial. We specifically asked that question. The only thing they were using other than life support, the breathing machine, and also heparin. One of the issues was these oxidative stresses that so-called microcirculatory angiopathy, basically blood clotting. And so heparin oftentimes is used in prevention or maybe in treatment. But they didn't use any, one question that came out, they didn't use any of the traditional Chinese medicine in these clinical trials or any other antiviral. No, they didn't use any
and no
antiviral drugs
drugs,
either.
no like hydroxychloroquine, none of that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a
Talking
controlled
about
trial. Yeah.
Great. So
Yes.
talking about unapproved drugs or accelerated drugs or off-label drugs, I'll jump into something else just to get your opinion on the current proposed testing protocols, and they're changing daily, as I mentioned it in the beginning of the show. What is your view on
Yeah.
that, especially on home-based tests?
Well, that's a tough question. As the one problem here is that, again, we are scratching our head as the COVID-19 is evolving. So we keep on changing our standards, right? And of
Correct.
course, because we're learning, I focus more on the prevention and treatment. Okay. Yes, we do need to know how many patients, how many people are catching this disease, how we can diagnose more accurately. And the problem is there's always false positive and false negative. There's always a percentage of those people. Okay.
Right.
And I can't really, there are lots of theories and rumors on the website floating around of these, these tests. And to me, I think we are talking too much. We're spending way too much energy, resources on these issues that don't really have a direct impact on the treatment. And I would focus on prevention and treatment. I think that's where the money should be.
So you and I couldn't agree on that more. And I'd
Yeah.
like to end with my last question to you, since we believe in optimizing the immune system and prevention. What is your view on potentially mandated vaccination? Would you personally agree to that to be administered to yourself or your loved ones?
Well, like I mentioned, if we vaccine, I think there are two issues here. The one issue here was the COVID-19 handy, And so I know there are companies testing vaccine right now. And the question is, when can we have a dose of vaccine for the majority of people worldwide? And that's, I'm not optimistic we will have anything anytime soon. And like I already mentioned, the damage is already done. So clearly vaccine for new viral epidemic or pandemic like COVID-19 is not going to work. When this hits, something like this hits again, we'll be scratching our heads and panic. We treat it as a new. So that's for new COVID-19. Now, yes, saying next time, like a common cold, like flu, when we use vaccine to prevent, entitled to their rights. But as for me, I don't have vaccine bodily, but overall, I would rather stress on active immune. I haven't taken flu vaccine in a long time. I don't advise my children to take them because of the preparation and many other potential issues. And I think for like flu, we definitely by maximizing vitamin C, vitamin E, and zinc, all these things, we can do a much better job than a vaccine. And so that's my stake right there.
Dr. Cheng, this is John. I've got to ask you a question if I can, and then I'm sure Kelly would like to chat with you before you go. You're in Shanghai, China right now, and you're treating some COVID-19 patients. With regards to preventment and treatment, you've got some success there, which is great news. When you return to the United States, and from your perspective, why are the integrative medical doctors here, integrative practitioners, working with sodium ascorbate to help people in our country here? And is that something that you're able to do when you're in the United States?
We've been doing that in Colombia. Actually, United States, we cloud, but still U.S. is one of the more liberal countries worldwide, I would say, allowing integral medicine. And, I know a lot of doctors worldwide, particularly Europe. Actually, many of them, for example, I think recently, the last couple of days, a doctor in Finland was telling us all supplement stores were either shut down or closed or something like that. That's unimaginable. So we in the United States, I know there are thousands of doctors give high-dose vitamin C in the United States. Well, thousands of doctors is still a very small number. However, yes, we can do that in the United States. But of course, medicine, I don't see this will change rapidly. But I think, if anything good is going to come out of this bad tragedy of COVID-19 is that we begin to, hopefully, more and more of us will recognize the true health. True health, prevention is more important. Our immune system is more important, and more important than treatment, than drugs. Drugs are important, but to prevent something like this, we probably should rely on ourselves more. And we should probably face squarely on integrative medicine, take it more seriously.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Kelly, would you like to talk with the doctor before,
can I make one more,
before we go? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I make one more observation?
Absolutely.
Because right before this talk, I was writing an email because I'm invited to write another journal for article for a peer-reviewed journal and asking me to write about vitamin C. So I'm asking if I'm permitted to write this topic. This is what I want to say. I already said I did a brief review of epidemics. If you look at Wikipedia, 19th century and 20th century, that's 200 years. I did like 96 epidemics on Wikipedia. 21st century, we're not even 20 years out yet. Okay? I already counted 63 or 64 epidemics. That's 2/3. In 20 years, we had 2/3 of the numbers of epidemics of the last 200 years. Okay. Now, my understanding is epidemics are related to economic conditions and hygiene status. I think we are definitely better than 200 years ago. Why are we seeing a trend? Now, that's very disturbing, number one. I don't know the answer. Of course, I have theories. Number one. Number two is that, again, I already mentioned it. When SARS broke out, people panicked. When MERS broke out, people panicked. And we're panicking right now in the middle of COVID-19. I'm telling you, if we do not change our mentality, if we do not get to learn something out of this time, next time when something happens again, I'm telling you, it will happen again. We already got 63 epidemics in 19 years. We will panic again. This will be all over again. And that hopefully this is something, I hope leaders in industry, government will take this question seriously. Unfortunately, so far, I'm the only one talking about it.
Very important point. We should have you back to discuss this alarming trend because that's a whole can of worms we can get into. Kelly, would you like to ask any questions of the doctor before we close out with Lior and the doctor?
Well, first I wanted to thank Dr. Chang for being on our show today. And I had a comment and a question. First of all, we see that evidence-based research is showing that most of the COVID-19 people that are diagnosed have 1 to 2 comorbidities, which is either cardiovascular disease or diabetes. So I believe I know where the doctor's going to go with this, because I really think that the focus also needs to be on lifestyle changes with nutritional habits.
Yes.
And there needs to be more of an emphasis in the healthcare industry on, nutrition and prevention, and moving into, smoking cessation or alcohol cessation. These are the things we need to move on to. And my question to the doctor is, a lot of people are not educated. So they go into a store, a vitamin store, and they just start grabbing things off the shelf. And I know, like, maybe you can comment on, emergency, the emergency powdered vitamin C drink that people do, because I used to drink that and then I quit drinking it because I think it had aspartame or something in it. But people aren't very knowledgeable on that. They might go into the store and grab vitamin D off the shelf and think, hey, I'm doing great here, I'm taking a vitamin D supplement, when it might not really be the right dosage, or it might not even be the right vitamin D. I don't know, the synthetic of some type.
Yeah, I agree, yeah. Well, first of all, taking some is probably better than not, okay? Not taking any. Now, the second question, actually, not only the consumers need education on this, but
I've
also
lost the doctor's feed.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, so not only the consumers
I have
need
no sound. I
education
hope
on
the
this,
audience does.
but also the healthcare professionals, the manufacturers, the manufacturers, we all, and the politicians, we all need education on this, so that the whole society will be in sync on this topic. Yes, we have a lot of work to do, but first of all, the mainstream media, the mainstream medicine, and the mainstream, hopefully the political system would recognize the importance of this right now, because right now, the correct information, the true information has been blocked out. And my reporting and my articles have been taken down from major media outlets. That doesn't do the society any good.
And I'm not sure, doctor, if you take, but I take something called a vitamin C activator. I don't know if it's MMS, because I actually get it from a neuropath. So I don't know if there's something that on that's a vitamin C activator. It's very citrusy. I'm not sure exactly what that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is either. And but in general, this is what I'm saying, is that in general, because of the so-called RDA dosage, and most manufacturers are not willing to put on like a heavy dose. The biggest dose that I can see on the US big box retailers anyway is a 1,000 milligram tablet. And 1,000 is better than nothing. However, if we want to go higher dose on that, I recommend the pure vitamin, because the additives can add up quickly if you take it every day. So I myself, and I take pure vitamin C, basically powder.
And do you know where our viewers can get the vitamin C? I know you said there was a shortage. Is there some specific place, or maybe Lior knows that we can get this?
Yeah, right now there's probably a shortage. Go ahead.
The shortages are globally, and whether, and first of all, at this time, we're all in self-isolating at home, so probably best is to go and research it online. And as Dr. Chang mentioned, I mean, there are so many different brands, and I'm not going to be pushing or recommending one over the other, but due diligence is important to understand what is on the supplements facts panel, and so make sure that there's
Yeah.
no additives and excipients and fillers and colors, etc., that you do not need. Important fact to remember, we cannot overdose on vitamin C. It is excreted from
That's
our
key.
body in 2 hours. So it's important to take
Yeah.
it on a regular basis. And the more we are under stress, the more our immune system is compromised, the
Yes.
higher and the more frequent dosages that it's required. The most enlightening situation from this crisis, as Dr. Chang had mentioned, is that we're going to bring awareness and hopefully acceptance by the establishment to the importance of nutritional protocol, to the importance implementing this side of education into medical schools, because currently that is not provided. And the average physician that gets their past their board takes maybe one day of nutritional education, and yet the patients believe that this is where they need that to get that information from. So my advice to anyone who really wants to understand it and get an advice from a professional is to seek an advice of a integrative medical provider that has a broad basis of knowledge and experience in that arena. And with regard to censorship, as I started this show, this segment of Unfiltered Light, and I said this particular one has to do with a conspiracy with a C at the end. I hope that all the work that we have been doing collectively, and Dr. Chang is in the lead of it right now in China, that is going to be brought to light and acceptance, because the WHO, the World Health Organization, with Facebook and Google have been hard at work, uh, just censoring and removing all that information from social media and otherwise. So we are the conduit to bringing this unfiltered truth revolution, this information to the public, and I hope that we will continue to do so to make a difference. So once again, Dr. Chang, thank you so very much for all the work that you're doing, and we would love to have you back again on the show at some point. And next week, I will be bringing another leading integrative physician, Dr. Nathan Goodyear, who's going to be discussing about another research and a new study with high-dose vitamin C that at this time is going to be targeting both COVID-19 as well as cancer therapies with dosages up to 300 grams per day. So I'm very excited about bringing that information. And once again, thank you so very much for being here with us today.
Thank you very much for having me all.
Dr. Chang,
Thank you, Doctor.
I take it you can't get back to the
John.
U.S. anytime soon with the flight restrictions,
Well,
but
yes.
we look forward to
Actually, I
having
was
you
gonna
back
say-
home.
Yeah, thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Well, I was going to answer Carrie's question about the shortage. It may have to do with this, lockdown because of the flights. I guess we have plenty here in China now. I have plenty here, but I can't ship to US. That's one of the problems, Well, thank you all very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
Stay
Chang.
safe. Stay healthy. Take a lot of
Thank you,
vitamin C.
sir. Yes, thank you, Doctor. You
Okay.
too. It's an interesting thing that's happening here is so many things, but time is short. We've got to close our show out. But I do want to just have a summary comment that in light of this crisis, a lot of good things are coming to the surface. Conversations that need to be had with the people of the world. And folks like Lior and yourself, Dr. Cheng, and many others are having the opportunity to get this information out there to people, because people are sponges now and looking for things. So there's always something good in the middle of a terrible crisis. But I've got to close out the show. I thank you, Dr. Cheng, for being here. Lior, would you like a closing statement before we move our show off?
All I want to say is, again, I'm very appreciative of this work and the courage that it takes to bring it to light, because all the forces are really aligned against us. And so we need to continue working together with the alternative media, with people like Dr. Cheng and other physicians that took the stand on bringing light, safety, and efficacy in the time of crises to the attention and awareness of the public.
Yes, and there's an old Buddhist quote I close my show out with all the time. 3 things cannot long be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. It's a great awakening taking place. Thank you, Dr. Cheng. Thank you, Lior.
Thank you again, John.
And thank you, Kelly. We'll see you back tomorrow, Kelly, for the great awakening.